Calendar week 45, and today's chapter is called Rich in Onions. I started writing this chapter of the book in the book of the Barracks in quite a good mood. Autumn is bleak and cold and it rains too much, but this last week has been really quite nice with low diffuse sun warming the air. The cheeky bobble hat that's found its winter home on my head isn't going to be coming off again until that freaky week in March, when we suddenly get hit with a temperature spike before April kicks in. But there's no need to be wishing winter away quite yet. We have only just made it into November. Last week I wrote a list of tasks for this week, and if I got to the bottom of it, it would persuade myself that I was engaged and hardworking and still on the ball of the barracks. And honestly, I got nearly all of it done. I counted the onions and garlic and happily found that we have over 200 of each, which is an appropriately good number for the next 12 months. Not sufficient for French onion soup every day of the week, but maybe I'll rustle up a stock pot or two over the next months. It's just about the best winter treat that I know of, and I make a bloody good one. It relies on a wood stove, because the way I make it takes at least 48 hours, and to do that on gas or electricity would be clearly ridiculous. This week I have a plan to make an over-elaborate storage system for them. There were other things on the list. I ate a little better. I fed the pigs, shelled all the beans. They are very damp and still drying on racks. I chopped several tons of wood and brought maybe half of the good stuff in out of the rain. I'll get the rest in this week. And I raked up about half of the leaves. I finished off the new leaf composter. Leaf mould takes 2 years to mature, so I need 2 of them for a swiftly moving assembly line. There wasn't much of a plan for building it, but when it was done, it turned out to be about 50% bigger than the original composter. This time last year, I raked up every leaf on the barracks and dumped them in: maple, ash, apple and birch, even the American red oaks right up at the front. This week, I completely filled the newer, bigger one with the leaves of about half the maples. I guess the rest of them have to go on the regular compost. I've been eating a lot of pumpkin this week, and canning them, which is a word I've always found incongruous and clashing in reality. It's jarring. I've never stuck pumpkins in jars before. Not because there is anything difficult or unsensible about it, but because what do you do with them? You have a jar of orange pumpkin mush. So I've been experimenting with pumpkin mush as a base for other more interesting things. None of them were terrible. All of them tasted of pumpkin. But this isn't a cooking show, so that's enough of that. In climate news, Bill Gates treated us to his meditations on the subject. I read it so that you don't have to. Actually, I didn't have to read it either. None of us did. It's called 3 Tough Truths About Climate, what I want everyone at COP30 to know. Firstly, can someone tell billionaires that their thoughts are not worth more than anyone else's? Not 3 things that I've been thinking about, or 3 things I'd like to be discussed, but 3 things I want you to know. Cue Billie Eilish. Give your money away, shorties. I remember reading The Road Ahead, Bill Gates' self-serving 1995 autobiography. This book was written by the futurist thief himself, by his own fair hand, and subtly announced to the suspecting public through a medium of a $1 million marketing budget. Everywhere you looked, there were reports of the great man's visionary past and future successes written by those There were reports of the great man's visionary past and future successes written by those who didn't read or didn't understand the book, and mildly snorted derision by those who did. His legendary in his own imagination ability to peer into the crystal ball and divinate the swirling of the tea leaves inside it turned out to be not a whole lot more than a rundown of a bunch of things that he thought were going to be huge and which he had heavily invested in. He was almost completely wrong about everything. If everyone has an old copy, punt it over. I'd like to reread it with a 30-year delay. I'm sure it hasn't improved any. In this week, when Hurricane Melissa ripped through the island nation of Jamaica, killing at least 40 people, and my friends in Hue, Vietnam, have spent the past 10 days living on the first floor of their house because 1.7 meters of rain fell in 24 hours, sweeping away the fridge, mopeds, and furniture of the ground floor. Gates decided to cut us another slice of wisdom, and it's just bollocks. Once again, it sees the future as things he's already invested in. and the only instrument of change being those same things. A futurist without an imagination is by definition wrong. This has been the worst week in climate news ever. Atmospheric CO2 jumped by a massive 2.4 parts per million over the last year, and carbon sinks have declined in their ability to absorb it. 1.5 is now officially locked in, and we've hit and crossed the first tipping point. Bill, get in the sea. As for the rest of you, you're all alright. I like you all a lot. Thank you as ever for being here and allowing me the occasional rant. I'm off to go and wake up the piggies and take a couple of very early morning photos in the rain before it's time to send this off. I hope it finds you well and warm with bellies full of good vegetables. I'm staying inside all day today. And so, until next week, much pirate love. Your loving Pirate Ben. XO. XO.